Hi, I'm Leslie from Texas. My mom died giving birth to me, and I was raised by my dad. He was a successful researcher and the best dad in the world. We roamed the jungles, sailed to distant islands, and rode camels through vast deserts together. I'm going to be an explorer just like you. No, sweetie, you'll be much better than me. I studied remotely and read books whenever I had free time. But when I turned 11, Dad was invited on a challenging expedition to the north. I'm sorry, but I can't take you with me. We don't have any other relatives, but I found a good private school for you. You'll stay there for a month, and then I'll come back for you. I don't want you to leave, Daddy. It's not forever. Besides, I have a gift for you. Wow, it's an ant farm. You won't have time to miss me with them around. Don't worry. We'll take good care of Leslie. That was my new principal, Mrs. Wilson. She walked me to class and introduced me to the other kids. Have you really been in a desert? I traveled across the Sahara for a whole week, and my dad and I also lived in the Gobi Desert for a few days. By the way, there were remains of ancient velociraptors found in the Gobi Desert. Can you imagine? I mean dinosaurs. Raptors? Like Rapture? Were they very happy or something? Thanks to my travels, I knew a lot of interesting facts about other countries. Even the teachers liked to hear my stories. We were wandering through the forests of Australia when we saw a carnivorous rainbow plant. It ate a frog right in front of our eyes. I've got to answer this! This expedition is amazing, Leslie. I'm almost done with my research. If all goes well, I'll be paid well for it, and will need for nothing. Was that your dad? He's going to make a new discovery soon. All my classmates admired me and wanted to be my friends. Life felt like a fairy tale. But a few days later, something terrible happened. I'm sorry, but your father died during the expedition. Before that, he let his colleagues down and was fired. He didn't leave you any money. You're lying! Dad will come back for me! I spent the night crying, and the next morning, the whole school found out the news. Does it mean she's homeless now? She could always live in her precious Sahara. Soon, I had to move to an old orphanage in the suburbs. I miss you, Daddy, but I promise I will still become a great explorer just like you. While the other children were playing, I was reading books. It was little wonder by the time I turned 16, I was the best student in school. I took part in all sorts of contests and worked on a project about ants. Don't worry, guys, no one could beat us. Leslie, tell us something cool. I still enjoyed telling stories and entertaining the other kids. One day, I got so engrossed in my project, I stayed late after classes. You are my best student, but without the money, you won't get anywhere. That's not true, Mr. Miller. If I work like an ant, I will achieve whatever I want. Besides studying, I worked part-time to save up money. Over the past month or so, I had been working as a groomer at a dog salon. I need you to bring our clients Bichon here. I arrived at the address our administrator gave me and saw a luxurious house. As I got closer, I heard a dog barking loudly. How did it get up there? You're the groomer, right? She escaped through the attic. I'm afraid of heights and can't get her. My boss is going to kill me. I had no choice but to get up on the roof. Good girl. Come here. Wait! The dog started to slide down the roof. I ran up to her and managed to grab her right before she fell to the ground. Phew, you poor thing. You hurt your paw. Let's go to the vet. What took you so long? What is this? Her owner is our richest client. We're done for. I saved her. I don't want to hear it. She took away my tips for the whole week, but the worst thing happened later in the evening. Someone posted this and it's already got several thousand views. Everyone is saying we can't be trusted with pets. Should I have left her on the roof? That's it. You're fired. Hello? Yes, of course. That was the dog's owner. She saw the video and demands you return the dog to her. Any idea what she wants from me? On my way back to that, I was mentally preparing to be shouted at. Mrs. Wilson, is this your house? I recognized you right away too. My maid can never keep track of my dear girl, but you went above and beyond. I want you to look after her in your free time. What do you say? Mrs. Wilson offered me good money, and I agreed. Tell us another story! All right, do you want to hear about ants? All you talk about is your project. We should go out and have some fun. Thank your lucky stars you have great friends like us. They convinced me to go to town. Soon, we arrived in a neighborhood with a lot of garages. See that handsome guy? His name is Jack. He's rich as heck but likes to tinker with old cars. I'll be done with this monster soon. While Jack was talking about his monster, I noticed a real treasure nearby. Wow! An anthill is in the middle of the city, right next to the road. You look at the anthill like it's a Gucci handbag. Why would I care about some bag when there's ants around? Don't mind Leslie. She's obsessed with ants. Yeah, I noticed. What an oddball. Being mocked didn't bother me. The next day, I came back to the garage. Could you please be a bit, less weird? If you're ashamed of me, you can pretend we don't know each other. While everyone was discussing cars, I was watching the life in that anthill. You look like a wacko. You know that, right? I was about to snap back when I noticed a strange flash nearby. The nearby bushes rustled suspiciously. There's no one here. When we came back to the orphanage, there was a bunch of people in the lobby. What's going on? The orphanage has been in need of repair for a long time now, but we don't have the money for it. This building is so old it would be easier to demolish it than fix it. This is wrong! We should do something! We've already tried asking for help to no avail. The next day after school, I went to Mrs. Wilson's place to watch over her dog. You've been a great help. Would you care for a cup of tea? Mrs. Wilson asked me about my life and seemed interested in my research. You are such a smart kid. I often thought about you. The next time I came to her place, she offered me something I wasn't expecting. I know your orphanage is in deplorable condition. A talented girl like you shouldn't have to live in a place like that. You should come back to my school. I wouldn't be able to pay for my studies there. I'll take care of your tuition. You could stay here until the end of the holidays. In your house? I was shocked by such generosity. But why are you hesitating? Of course you should take her up on her offer. I'd give anything to get out of this hole. It's not so bad here, and I'm worried about our orphanage. Of course you should agree. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Don't waste it. You're special, Leslie. I have no doubt you will succeed. Why are you leaving us? Don't you want to tell us stories anymore? I'll visit you. Leaving those kids there hurt. And I wrote several letters to the local authorities asking for help, but I didn't get a single answer. You made the right choice. Let me introduce you to my son. I always thought she lived alone. Imagine my shock when I saw Jack. You? From that moment on, we started seeing each other even more often. When will you finish your stupid project? When will you be done with your stupid monster? I soon realized that Jack was acting much friendlier than he used to. He even stopped teasing me. It was nice, but the sudden change of heart was a bit suspicious. One day, we were walking home together. Do you see that guy? I think he's watching us. You're worked up over nothing. I would have agreed with him if it hadn't been for another strange incident. That day, I came to the orphanage to visit the younger kids. I'm glad you stopped by. A man came to the orphanage this morning. He was asking about you and trying to snoop around. That's weird. Was he wearing a raincoat and hat? Of course, I didn't tell him anything and told him to leave. Who was he, and what did he want from me? Mr. Miller said that he organized a demonstration to bring attention to our orphanage and its problems. The next day, I joined him to try and help too. I'm not sure this will work. Nobody cares about us. Are you okay? You've been kind of down lately. When I told Jack about my orphanage, he suggested I talk to his mom. You should use your connections. I'll give it a try. A couple of days later, I finished my project and applied for a science contest. We should celebrate. I'm done with the car. You want to go for a ride? His monster roared and sped through town like a panther chasing its prey. Yoo-hoo! At some point, we stopped at a small courtyard, and Jack got us Belgian waffles. You had some cream on your lips. When we were walking home, Jack took my hand. I hope he can't see how hard I'm blushing. Mom, I thought she would be mad. It was one thing to accept me into her school, but quite another to see me hold her son's hand. However, I was in for another surprise. Youth. I was in love when I was your age too, you know. I spent the next week preparing for the competition, and Jack was always there for me. One day, I came to Mrs. Wilson's study to talk to her about my orphanage. Don't you know you're supposed to knock before barging in? Sorry, I just wanted to ask you if there were any news about my orphanage. If anything changes, I'll let you know. Over the weekend, she threw a dinner party and invited some people over. I'll go see what's making that noise. My farm! Get it off me! There's a whole colony here. I've got the ant spray. Don't kill them! My poor ants. What on earth were you thinking? You were acting like a total wacko. I am a wacko, or did you forget? Your little ant project is ridiculous. I need you to focus on something serious if you want to be accepted in my school. I can make my own decisions. Over the next few days, Mrs. Wilson kept finding fault in everything I did. Don't forget you're living with us. That means you have a reputation to uphold. I tried not to pay them any mind, but everything changed when I accidentally overheard them talking. I don't want to pretend I like Leslie anymore. She gets on my nerves. Have some patience. We need to keep her close. Can you at least explain why? That's what I'd like to know too. Do you make a habit of eavesdropping on other people's conversations? This is just a misunderstanding. Anyway, you should be grateful for everything I've done for you. I didn't ask for your help. You offered it yourself. And you're a lying chameleon. I don't know what you want from me, but I'm going back to the orphanage. Mrs. Wilson tried to stop me, but I left anyway. When I got to the orphanage, I talked to Mr. Miller. He also had news for me. I saw that man in the hat again, and you're right. Mrs. Wilson is acting weird. What if they're connected? My heart sank, but I decided not to think about it all just yet. I'm taking part in a science competition tomorrow. I need to focus. At the contest, I presented my research and showed off my ant farm. Have I failed? You did a brilliant job. I think we have our winner. I did it, Dad. We're going to fund your further research and pay your tuition at a good school in the nearby city. It was an offer impossible to refuse. Are you leaving again? Take us with you. I'm not leaving you. I'm going to become successful, earn money, and help you. Good luck, Leslie. I was about to get on the bus when the man in the hat approached me. I'm a private detective. I was hired by a man who cares about you. He wants to talk. I'm not going anywhere with you. Even if that man is a friend of your late father, the detective brought me to a hospital to a man that introduced himself as Mr. Jones. You look just like him. When I saw that video of you saving a dog from a roof, I immediately recognized you. Did you really know my dad? We were colleagues. He saved me on that tragic expedition, but it cost him his life. I got into a hospital and still haven't fully recovered. When I woke up, I thought about you. I called your school, but Mrs. Wilson said you didn't need anything. But I was left with nothing. You're wrong. Your father's research was a success. He got good money and even managed to buy you a house. A house? When I saw that video, I decided to see how you were doing and soon realized something was wrong. So I hired a private investigator, and he recently got to the bottom of it. Shortly before your dad died, he asked Mrs. Wilson to help him buy a house and told her where he kept the money he saved up. But after he died, Mrs. Wilson transferred the money to her own bank account. That's why she accepted me back into her school and convinced Jack to befriend me. She probably noticed the detective was investigating her. I think you're right. Mrs. Wilson wanted to keep you close. The detective handed me all the documents he had managed to get his hands on. Then, Mr. Jones and I filed a lawsuit, and I finally got the house. You're back! And I have great news for you. We're all moving. I'm back! What's the meaning of this? By law, this house belongs to me, and I'm going to start an orphanage here. What's this weirdo talking about? You can't do that! You don't have the right! I knew you would choose the hard way. You are under arrest. Soon, we turned the building into an orphanage. Mr. Jones donated his own money to make some additions to the building. Now it looks like a big and cozy anthill. Oh, don't start. Mr. Miller became its director, and I went to study in another city. I graduated from high school and got into college this year. I'm going on my first expedition during the holidays. Can you believe it? Mr. Jones and I have become friends. He reminds me of my dad in a lot of ways. Jack moved in with his distant relatives after Mrs. Wilson was arrested. I heard that he didn't get into college and became a mechanic. Our new orphanage is thriving, and I'm busy with my research. Do you think Dad would be proud of me?